Hi, my name's Tim and I'm the County Secretary, also known as the Negotiating Secretary for the NASUWT in West Sussex. I'm also the Secretary for the West Sussex North Local Association and a caseworker across West Sussex. As a caseworker, I get to meet loads of lovely members for lots of different things. It could be capability, it could be redundancy, it could be adverse management practices, but they generally all come through regional centre with a form that they have to fill in, and then we triage that form, and then whoever's appropriate in the area picks it up. There's a pattern here to all the work that comes our way, and it's always working with members, professional people that just want to do a good job in great schools, and they're broken. They're broken for different reasons, but they've been neglected, they've not been listened to. We all talk about pupil voice, but staff voice is just as important. And we very quickly have to get some sort of stable situation around them so they can believe that the career is still for them, and then start unpicking what's causing them the grief, the upset, the angst, before we can start sorting it out. So this is when I met Clare, and Clare is a teacher in the West Sussex School. She's a maths teacher, she's been teaching 18 years. Clare, when I first picked up Clare as a caseworker, she was battling not to actually maintain the behaviour standards in the school, because she was quite impactful with that, but the amount of behaviour she had to battle with and the lack of sanctions that were dealt with those children that just repeated the behaviour in the next lesson. And it's exhausting when you haven't got those children improving and you're trying your best to teach people and deal with behaviour. But Clare, with a lot of support from the school and the union, managed to pull herself back from that, I guess you could say, a dark place in the middle of winter, and then went on to survive a restructure in that school, which was carrying £1 million deficit, and is here today. And I've asked Clare if she'd say a few words, because when school leadership's great and supportive, it's a bit like two stabilisers on a bike. The union and the school can very quickly sort out a situation. When the school's not supportive, it's a bit more of a battle. But I've always said the same thing. People are important and they need looking after. In a retention and recruitment crisis, when we can't get people quick enough and people are leaving quicker, why don't we look after the biggest asset more effectively? So Clare's with me today, Mrs. Clare.
Hello.
So Clare, I'm going to ask you a few questions here. Having survived it and looking very relaxed on this hot sunny day in July, how did you find the support of the NASUWT at all levels, whether you contacted the regional centre, the school-based rep, or anybody else you got involved with?
From start to finish, absolutely superb. I was fortunate enough that I didn't need to go further than Tim, because he was our rep in school, so I didn't need to elevate it any further. Tim got it from the get-go what the issue was, obviously being in teaching himself. I think he'd clocked my demise probably quicker than I'd clocked it, and he was there every step of the way, so I'm just so grateful for everything that he did, for standing by me, for pushing me in the right direction when sometimes you're not able to see it yourself and you haven't necessarily got the motivation and the strength to do it. So yeah, it went no further than Tim, but he sorted everything and I'm hugely grateful.
So how impactful was the help to you personally as well as professionally, Clare?
Well, obviously extremely. Personally, I was. I didn't feel myself. I wasn't myself when I was going home. I was a mixture of very upset and a mixture of very angry. And obviously it's not ideal when you're taking issues in the workplace home, because it has a greater impact on families and friends, and that's never fair. And I think in school, it's only now I can look back and I can reflect and see how I feel now compared to how I was then, that I realise actually I wasn't in a particularly good place at all, and it's only when you come out of it you can see the wood for the trees. So it was Tim's support was very impactful, and again it was just another listening ear. Sometimes you think you're going a bit mad, perhaps even imagining, am I making more of this than there is, but as I say, Tim, being a teacher in the same school, could understand where I was coming from and was quick to dive in with the support. So very impactful indeed.
And I think it's fair to say, isn't it, that the head and the business manager eventually got on side and were very supportive as well.
Definitely.
So Claire, what would you say to anyone suffering in any way in any school about anything that's causing them a problem? I always say if it smells or feels or looks wrong, it probably is wrong. What would you say to ECTs or teachers, similar experience to you, if they experience anything that didn't feel right in a school setting?
Yeah, I think it's a very personal thing, and I think when it first happens, it's an embarrassment because you feel like you're not coping particularly well, and then depending on your experience, if you are an experienced teacher, then do you want to be saying to people, well, why am I struggling with this behaviour issue or whatever, because I probably should be on top of it? Is it an age thing? But I would just say, to be open and not to keep it to yourself. Definitely, there's always someone that will listen. Hopefully in your department or a colleague, but if not, definitely a union rep. And a problem shared is a problem halved, as they say, and that definitely is the case. Once you start to unravel, then you're starting to heal, and it's an onward journey really from that point.
Thank you, Claire. And finally, I know you've been in the NEU. I think you came across from the NEU to the NASUWT. Why is it important for all teachers to be in a union? And would you recommend the NASUWT? Yeah,
definitely recommend NASUWT for all the reasons that I've said. The reaction was immediate, very supportive, very helpful in every capacity, and I think it is important to join a union because as a solo individual you're just one voice, and that it's not to say that one voice isn't important, but obviously it's far more impactful when you're in a union and it's a collective. You've got more clout, you've got more power, and hopefully you've got each other's back. So definitely you need to be a union member, and vote with your feet as to whom you think is going to put the work in for you. Definitely.
And I think it's fair to say, isn't it, Claire, that everybody's got a voice.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can't find it or we choose not to use it, but I'd echo what Claire said. We've all got a voice and we should use it, and if collectively we use it, it's louder, it's more powerful, it's more impactful, and if we need to use that louder voice, then we can. But to finish off, and thank you, Claire, for sharing all that.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate your support.
No, it's a pleasure. Again, like I say, people are important and should be looked after. They're the biggest asset of any school, in any setting in this country, and we need to hold on to them. We can't afford to lose them. So, if it smells wrong, if it looks wrong, and it feels wrong, it probably is wrong. So don't suffer in silence. Share it with somebody in your department, share with somebody in the school, and if nobody's listening and it's not getting better, get in touch with the union representative. In this case, it would be me for West Sussex, the NASUWT. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim.
So you met Claire, a great maths teacher in a great school in West Sussex. I guess most people, when we pick them up during casework, well, from my experience, is that they're broken, they're exhausted, but more importantly, they're frustrated. They're frustrated because they believe in making a difference, and they also believe that they can be trusted, they are committed, and they do care. When behaviour policies don't support that mindset, it gets very frustrating. If you care, if you're committed and you can be trusted to maintain that behaviour policy, but the sanctions aren't in place to make sure those children don't repeat those poor behaviours, then that can be quite exhausting. Most teachers just want to deliver a passion for their subject and get the knowledge, the theory, the application across so those children get it. Doesn't matter what the subject is. The school has to win in the end. More importantly, when the school wins, everybody wins. It's not complicated dealing with behaviour. Behaviour underpins everything in a school setting. And those schools that aren't getting it right need to get help. They need to get people in to get it right. They don't need to be throwing more assistant heads and pay cost at the structure. It is simple to get behaviour right in a school. the culture has to support everybody, and the people that are delivering the subjects in any faculty just want to teach. It was, however, very lovely when I left Clare to get a little thank you and a card. A bit like at the end of the academic year. I haven't opened either yet, but people do show their appreciation, and it's a bit like finishing teaching kids GCSE and A-levels. We don't expect anything, I don't ever want anything, but it's very lovely that people value what you do to support them. When you take them from their darkest hour to their most excited and happy place, as Clare was today. But it's very nice that that bottle of champagne will fit in my chiller that also came from Wimbledon. So thank you, Clare, you very lovely person. Unnecessary, unexpected, but I'm sure I'll welcome it, as will my wife, with a big bowl of strawberries when we finish for the summer in 10 days time. Thank you, Clare, and thank you for doing a post to social media.